So now I'm going to share with you my favorite pasta recipe. It is my signature Bolognese with a pappardelle pasta. And I grew up eating pasta. It was something that my mom made. We ate every Sunday. It's something that if it was the last meal on earth I could eat, this is my dish. So we're gonna start with a little olive oil. And the bottom, again, just to coat the bottom. And you want your heat, probably about medium. We'll just get that coated. And we're gonna do onions and bell peppers. So bell peppers are not traditional in a Bolognese. A Bolognese is typically known for its meat flavor, and we are gonna add a lot of meat. This is a really hearty ragu sauce that originated from Bologna. So we're gonna add our onions and our green bell pepper. And what I love about green bell pepper, it just adds a different depth of flavor to the dish. And it goes really good with Chilean or wine from Argentina, I'm just saying. So we're gonna do the same thing that we did with our arancini. We're gonna let that sweat, get nice and translucent. That takes a few minutes. And then once those are ready, that's when we're gonna add our meat. So we're gonna add ground beef. I actually like to choose my cut of meat. So in this dish, I'm using ground chuck. I know what part of the cow it came from. It's not coming from like 1,000 different pieces of the cow, but it also has a really nice fat content. So that's gonna add some flavor to it. So we'll add ground beef. And the nice thing you have to remember about this is this is not a hurried dish. Sauces take time. So that also carries over to when you're browning the meat. You don't want to brown it too quickly. You really kind of want those flavors to develop, so you want to brown it slowly. So we'll get that kind of broken up in the pan with the onions and the peppers. And then we're going to add some ground pork. Again, another added flavor. Same thing, just kind of break it up. So you don't want to have like a beef and a chunk of pork and a chunk of veal. I kind of like to get them like kind of mixed together so those flavors all kind of come together and develop a profile. And then we're going to add ground veal. I'm going to turn the heat up just a little bit. So you'll also notice too the size of the pan that I'm using. So a lot of people, use a big sauce pot. This is mostly a meat sauce. We're not using a lot of tomato product because we want the meat to shine in this dish. Okay, now that we've got the meat browned, you'll notice one thing I didn't add earlier was garlic. So garlic has a tendency to burn really fast and then it gets bitter. So a lot of times you can add it after the fact, and since this sauce is gonna simmer for a while, it'll soften the garlic and pull out the flavor. So we're gonna add it in now. And then we're gonna add in our other herbs. So I'm using some fresh and some dry. The dry herbs are what we're gonna put in, and we're gonna season it with salt and pepper. The fresh herb, which is the parsley, we'll do at the very end because it's a fresh herb. We don't want it to get wilted and brown inside the sauce. It's gonna have a brighter, fresher flavor, so we'll put that in at the end. So we're gonna put in a lot of basil, because I like basil. And we're gonna put in some oregano. And salt and pepper. So salt and pepper, people are afraid of it. I like using coarse salt. You can use a little bit more of it than you would a table salt. But what it should do, salt should actually be a magnifying glass. It shouldn't make your dish salty. It should just bring out the natural flavors of the ingredients in the dish. All right, I'm gonna turn that down. And then once that's kind of mixed in and all the meat and vegetables are coated with the seasoning, now we can add our tomatoes. I use two types. I use a San Marzano tomato. I have mine pureed. A lot of people like to put it in a bowl and kind of hand squeeze it. It depends on how chunky or smooth you want your sauce. So because there's a lot of meat in this, I wanted it pureed. So we're gonna add the pureed San Marzano tomatoes. They were purchased whole, peeled, and we just put them in a blender and zhuzhed them. And then I'm not sure if that's a really chunky Bloody Mary or if this is actually just tomatoes, but this is a Pomi tomato. It's an Italian product, and that's gonna add a little texture. So these are chopped tomatoes, a little bit smaller than a diced tomato, again, because we really wanna get the chunks of meat. We don't wanna be eating chunks of tomato, but this will add a little more texture. You could add wine to this sauce if you wanted to add some flavor. I usually end up drinking my wine before it ends up in the dish, so it's not in my recipe, but you can notice how meaty that is. That's a Bolognese. It is a meat sauce. And because this is a thick, meaty sauce, when we're gonna cook our pasta, we're gonna do a fresh pappardelle, and it's a wider noodle. The wider noodles tend to hold the chunks of meat better than like a thin spaghetti. So that's why I like using a thicker noodle. So we're gonna let this sauce simmer for a few hours. When you're using a canned tomato product, you want to cook out the tinniness of the can. Sauce is always better the day after, and that's because you've let it sit and really develop those flavors. So I would let this simmer for at least 2 or 3 hours at the minimum, just to get that really good developed flavor. And when that's done, we'll toss in that fresh parsley to finish. So now we're gonna cook the pasta. I like using a fresh pasta for this dish. The only difference between dried pasta and fresh pasta is the amount of cooking. So this is a homemade egg noodle pappardelle. Pappardelle is thick, like a ribbon. And I like this because it'll hold up to that meaty sauce. If you put this over spaghetti or a bucatini, it would kind of drown the noodles. And in Italy, actually, they just glaze the pasta with the sauce. It's not like what we do here where I like a lot of sauce. I can eat the sauce by itself and I kind of drown my pasta. We're gonna not do that here because the traditional Italian way is to serve a small amount of pasta. This is the primo course. It is the course right after the appetizer. So you don't have a lot of the pasta, and we're gonna lightly put the sauce on it. So, fresh pasta, boiling water. Salted boiling water, salty like the sea. Don't be afraid to salt your water and put enough salt in it, because if you don't have enough salt in it, your pasta is not going to have any flavor. It's going to taste like flour. So we will take, let's just take a serving or 2. Did I tell y'all I was from Texas? Because in Texas we eat big portions. And literally this is fresh, so it's going to take 1 to 3 minutes. And how you know this is ready? Fresh pasta will float towards the top of the water. So once it's floating, we will know that it's ready. And you want your pasta, as you've probably heard before, al dente. And what does that mean? It means it has a little bit of tooth. So when you bite through it, it should have some chew, it should have some texture. It shouldn't mush in your mouth. So our sauce has been simmering for a few hours. It's got a really nice flavor to it because, you know, I've been over here tasting it. And the pasta's ready. Now, some people like to put their pasta in the sauce. For this particular dish, I like to kind of put the sauce on top of the pasta because this is a nice thick pasta that will stand up to the sauce. So a trick, though, to keep your plate warm and to have sauce kind of coat the entire thing is to put some sauce in the bottom of the plate first. So this will warm our plate, which will keep the pasta warm and it won't get cold. And we're gonna take a little bit of that sauce. Oh my gosh, look at that. I'm so hungry. Bottom of the plate, that's warming the plate for us. And then instead of draining this, I'm gonna take it directly from the salted water, which means I'm getting a little bit of that starchy water without having to add it to the sauce on the plate. So it's kind of a easy way to, you know, get a little bit of that pasta water without making the sauce runny. All right, some beautiful pappardelle. Ooh, look at that. Just make a nice little nest, nice and thick. And then to finish plating, we'll top it with more sauce. So to finish off our pasta, we're gonna add that lovely, luscious meat sauce on top. Oh, look how beautiful that is on top. Then you can garnish it with parsley. I like basil. Just a nice basil leaf for presentation. And you can enjoy that with a nice hearty red wine.